국가 안보가 어느 때보다 중요한 현재, K방산이 세계적인 브랜드가 되어가고 있습니다. 내구력 좋은 국산 총기의 대명사인 K2 소총의 토대 위 신형 총기들이 가세하면서 국내산 총기도 다양화되고 있는데요. 이에 따라 대한민국을 대표하는 총기 K2에 대한 관심이 더해가며 수많은 해외 총기 전문가들이 관심을 가지고 리뷰 영상을 올리고 있습니다. 우리나라는 예로부터 화약무기 강국이었습니다. 세종대왕은 한글을 창제한 위대한 왕으로 기억되지만 세종대왕이 화약무기 개발에 매진했다는 이야기는 그리 많이 알려지지 않았습니다. 일찍이 세종대왕은 화약무기 개발에 앞섰고 마침내 세계 최초의 권총으로 불리는 기병용 새총통을 만들어냈습니다. 당시 새총통은 사거리가 200보로 지금 거리로 환산하면 250m 떨어진 적도 공격할 수 있을 만큼 길었고 조작법은 쉬워 여자와 어린아이도 능히 다룰 수 있는 무기로 극찬을 받았습니다. 세종 때부터 강력한 화약무기 국가의 기틀을 마련한 우리나라의 총기는 K2 소총으로까지 전해 내려와 여러 소총들의 장점을 갖췄다는 평가를 듣는데요. 총기 리뷰 전문 채널 택티컬 미스치프를 운영하는 미 해병대 출신 베노이트는 대우 DR200에 대한 리뷰를 요청받아 총기 전문가 입장에서 K2를 평가합니다.
Today, one of my buddies over here wanted me to talk about his Daewoo rifle. So, what's going on with the Daewoo rifle? Well, where did this come from? This came from South Korea, obviously, if you've heard of, the Daewoo cars. So, this rifle right here was basically designed because of the fact that right after the Korean War, the United States was adopting the M16, and Colt was trying to sell the M16 design over to the South Koreans since they were one of our allies. And because of the fact that the M16, the AR-15, is actually a pretty expensive design to manufacture, the Koreans did not agree with the price that Colt was asking for. So they went to Daewoo, which was one of the only real manufacturers that the country had at the time, and asked them to design a rifle that was based around a 5.56, so that they would stay within NATO standards. So this rifle right here was basically what was designed, and they did a couple of cool improvements where they had really good, they had a pretty decent idea for the iron sights, but I don't really care for the iron sights too much because of the fact that I can't really get a good cheek on this thing. They also did incorporate a piston system so that you can have a folding stock and that you don't have a buffer tube back here inside the buttstock. The iron sights itself, they do technically work. You got 100, it says 2.5, I'm assuming basically what that is either 250 or 200 or 50-200 0 is what I'm assuming, because I tried shooting this at 200 yards and it's dead on.
I got a human silhouette target. We're going to go back about 10 yards and we're going to run that 5-round drill that I did when I was testing out those angle foregrips, just to test out recoil management as well as being able to just press that trigger. Now this is running an older style trigger, so there's really not much creep or slack into it. It's basically just a really hard break, but they're typically pretty stiff. This one is probably 1980s-ish, so it's got a pretty well-worn-in trigger. Because of the fact that these sights right here, they're really not good for getting up and getting a good cheek right away, because I can barely get a cheek in there. I'm going to use the same method that they used to use with the old M16s, where if they had to shoot close range, instead what they would do is they bring their rifle up and they would actually look over their sights at their front sight post, because these rifles are generally zeroed for longer distances, so you got a really big arc. So if you're going to be looking over the top of your rear sight at just your front sight, you should hit dead center on your target if you're trying to shoot something close. Let's go ahead and test that theory. Here we are at 10 yards, and I'm going to use this. It's a hex mag, and it's a polymer mag, so not quite sure how it's going to work out with this older style rifle, but we'll find out. I'm going to start off with the safety on, and then I'm going to have to flip the safety off before I get a chance to fire, and then that's going to actually add into my overall time, as well as my first shot. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the fifth one's off to the left somewhere. Trigger's not bad. So, 5 shots. First shot was a 1.19. Total time was a 2.79. Splits was a 0.21. not bad for my cold shot. This is my cold shot with this rifle recently. I did shoot the rifle a little bit just to test it out, make sure that it actually shot a while out there, but this is the first time that I actually shot it that quickly. So let's try that again. Let's try that again. Once again, starting on safe. I forgot. When the bolt is locked to the rear, you can't flip the rifle back on the safe. You have to take the mag out. Now I can put the rifle on safe. A little bit faster. So 5 shots. Got a 141. Total time was a 217. Splits was a .16. So a little bit of training. You can run it a little bit faster, pretty close to what you would with a typical AR, but there's only so much you can do to bridge that gap. I think probably the biggest weakness of this rifle is the safety itself, just flipping that safety off, because this rifle right here, no matter what gun that you're running, if you have a safety and you're not shooting, you should have it on safe. If you're not shooting, you're reloading. If you're looking around the area, you should have your rifle or your weapon on safe, because of the fact that you don't want to accidentally fire that weapon off when you don't mean to. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the target. To be honest, this is better than what I was expecting. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All 10 rounds stayed within inside the silhouette. We got 2 way out there that I don't like. I would like to keep them all inside here, but unfortunately, because of the technique that I'm using, and it's a new technique I actually do not have a lot of practice behind. It's just something in theory that I've heard, and I've seen people use it, but it's not really a technique that I actually used, and so it's something that I should probably train myself into if I was going to run a rifle like this. But because I'm running a more modern style rifle, I'm not depending on using this, bringing it up and looking over my rear sight to actually put my front sight on there. And because I was looking over my rear sight, I was anticipating that I was going to have a higher shot placement. I actually had my front sight down low right about here. And that's the reason why they impacted low. So that's definitely a training thing. So anyway, let's take it up to 200 and see how many rounds I can hit at the 200-yard steel plates. So here we are at 200 yards, and I'm going to go ahead and try and shoot that IPSC target. And I got 10 rounds in here of XM 193 55 grain ball. This thing's got a pencil barrel on it, so once it heats up, it might start stringing rounds randomly. I don't know where they're going to go, but so far it doesn't really seem like that's much of an issue, especially when I'm only shooting like 10 rounds. If I was burning through like 2 or 3 30-round magazines, then it could start seeing an issue, but so far it's been pretty reliable. Barrels tend to burn out after about 10,000 rounds, but it's so close to an AR-15 barrel, you might be able to get a gunsmith to maybe jerry-rig something together to put a new barrel into it. The sooner you can, the better, to put a more modern barrel into it, because these old Daewoo barrels are generally meant for only the 55 grain. They're not really meant for the 62 grain M855 ball ammunition or steel case stuff like that. Might damage the barrel if it's got higher chamber pressure than what's actually meant for. But anyway, let's go ahead and try and see if we can poke that 200-yard plate. And this right here, I got it set for 200 and it seems to hit, but I literally just have my cheekbone on this thing because I cannot get my eyes down low enough. Okay, let's see if we can hit it. I think that last one I missed it. So accuracy-wise, it's a really accurate rifle. It shoots pretty light. Feels like an AR. Recoil feels like an AR. Really don't have much to say about it. Seems to be a fairly reliable rifle. Just wish that you could probably get more modern ones into the U.S., but unfortunately, I don't think Dave was going to be focusing on the civilian market with their rifles because they just don't make a lot of money exporting rifles out of Korea. So it's a pretty nice little rifle. It's accurate.
이상 꿀튜브였습니다. 이번 영상이 도움되셨다면 구독, 좋아요 눌러주세요. 앞으로도 꿀튜브 채널에 많은 관심 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.